Good morning and welcome to another episode of Wake Up Right. I am your host Raina here with my co-host Jason, and we have another exciting show for you today. We hope that you find interest in the topics that we're going to cover. We got quite a few things of interest going on,
a little bit,
that we'd like to touch on with you all. First, we're going to start with, it is one of the heaviest topics, but there's also some light in the tunnel. The one word we all hate to hear, cancer. Just like the Black Plague from the 1800s or whatever that was.
It just gives me chills, just even it's such a horrible disease,
It is. It is. And I think, honestly, probably the one thing that you don't want to go to the doctor and hear, oh, we think, or I mean, it's sad to say, but I think people would probably rather hear they have AIDS than cancer, because I mean, there's treatment for that now. You can make yourself undetectable, but remember, that was like that was the scare, some years ago. So
and it's been proven you can do magic and not die from it. So
yes. Well, we need that magic as it pertains to cancer, because it is the second leading cause of death in Americans, second only to
heart disease.
But today we just wanted to touch just a little bit on some of the facts about cancer that you're probably all already aware of. Sometimes just little reminders can kind of motivate us to, hey, I need to work on that, or let me get back on eating, or, the different ways you can combat or at least reduce your risk of, well, they say that everybody already has cancer cells already in their body. So I guess igniting them.
Yeah, it's really about it spreading. In early detection. Going to and seeing your doctors or seeing your team of doctors, because it could be any type of cancer. I mean, prostate, throat, lung, stomach, all types of cancers, and it spreads, and and it's so prominent in the Black community, because we don't really go, especially men, get checked up as much as we should. Go to our doctor, have those not only annual physicals, but just a team of doctors to ensure that they're checking appropriately, having those screenings. As men get older, same with women, but it's primary with men, Black men especially, in which it's affecting us. Once you start to get into the 40s, 50s, having those screenings are important, because if you can catch it early, it's preventable. Nowadays. It's 30 years ago, it was huge. I think they say that the death rate has dropped 34% in terms of being diagnosed with cancer, compared to 30 years ago. Now, because of preventative maintenance, people catching it early, better medicine, obviously, but mainly because of preventative measures, instead of waiting to the last minute or thinking that you're somehow immune to it, because it's not really genetic. It is genetic, but it's also a combination of genetics and your lifestyle too. So you're not immune to it. It's definitely, if you're a male, especially Black male, you definitely got to go get checked and make sure that cancer doesn't hit you, because it's taking people out 1,700 deaths a day.
Oh, that's a lot.
That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's in America.
So I definitely agree with doing more. I think most people just do an annual physical, if they even do that. But like for myself, last year I did my physical, and I went and had my lungs checked, and I went and had my heart and arteries checked. And it's not because anything is wrong, but like you said, as you do age, the body is going to slow down. You're not going to heal as fast, and that's, I guess, like around that 35, 40, 45 age range is when things do start to shift a little. And I would say whether you're in exceptional health or not, it would definitely behoove you to get yourself looked at, because I think most of the time when people do go, like you said, it's already, by the time you notice a problem, you're probably already like stage 3, stage 4. Like you just found out you had it. We need to run a biopsy. Oh, it's stage 4. Like, and that's, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but it seems like what I find interesting is people will be totally fine, and then they find out they have cancer, and then like a year later they're gone. But you've had it all this time. I think, to me personally, this is personal opinion, I think the weight and the stress of it, and actually, because you've had it clearly, if it's gotten so, I don't know, pronounced in your body and you didn't know, but then all of a sudden now you have a mental awareness of its presence,
and the stress kind of,
and now all of a sudden you just, the deterioration is exponential.
You know, I don't have any family members or any close friends that I've had to and I'm fortunate enough to have to go through that cancer experience. You know, you're talking about huge medical bills, going through the numerous amount of treatments, you know, consistently seeing the doctor, wondering if you're going to be alive tomorrow. I mean, that's got to be the most stressful thing ever, to be diagnosed and told that by a doctor. And you know, it's one of those things where, you know, it's not in the front of our minds until it's put in the front of our minds. You kind of have to operate on what if type philosophy. What if it could happen to me? I need to go get this checked out. You know, almost assuming that the worst that can happen. Otherwise, you know, once you catch it late and it's spreading, now that stress will probably just from fighting it, you know, could cause your body to deteriorate just from the stress itself.
And see, I feel the exact opposite. I feel like it is at the forefront of everything because of the commercials and the medications that they advertise, and then it's in the movies. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
So to me, it's almost like, God, if I see another commercial about a cancer medication. So I'm the exact opposite of your thought process. I'm like, oh, and I hope that I should go get that checked out. So
That's a very interesting concept, mainly because, you know, I feel like there's so many of those medical commercials. I mean, how many commercials do you see with this type of medicine, with this different side effects, you know, that come on with the family in the background playing soccer with their kids? It's like,
with the alphabet medications.
How many?
We can't even pronounce.
It's so many. so to the point where, is it on the forefront of my mind? Actually, it's and I shouldn't be, but it's kind of like you get numb to it after a while. After so much of anything, you get numb to it to a point where it's like, okay, I'm just going to tune this out. But yes, you're right. There's so many different commercials. That really is warning you to, hey, listen, start checking on your health in these different type of ways. So, I hear you. I hear you for sure.
But even like the, I hate to watch them, but I can't look away. The St. Jude commercials with the children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, these kids being diagnosed with cancer at such early ages is the saddest thing ever. I mean, you're talking about lifestyle that could potentially affect you, but these kids, they haven't even lived life yet, and they're
lived at all. So then it's like, what?
Yeah.
How so fast? And I would like to have more understanding on that. About, I can understand us as adults, you know, drinking, smoking, eating a bunch of things we shouldn't be eating, the toxic environment, the air, the pollution, all of those, the stress of life. But you see some of these, they're like 2 and 3 years old in the hospital. They don't know anything.
Yeah.
And how?
Yeah.
That's hurtful.
That is very hurtful. It's one of those things where, you know, it almost makes it seem, you know, I don't want to say hopeless, but, you know, when you look at cancer, you're like, oh, there's no cure for this. You know, there's only hopeful treatments. You know, some people don't make it, and it's attacking people at all ages.
It is.
You know, different parts of the body. You know, so it's a huge thing. But they're coming out with different treatments that like help people survive a little bit better, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are some of those?
So the European Association of Urology presented like a scanning technique where it will illuminate the cancer cells in the prostate. So it doesn't diagnose, but I believe they'll be able to tell if it's going to be aggressive before you have to go get a biopsy. So I think that's pretty dope.
Yeah, it's certainly hope. Any type of advanced medical research that's coming out
in the right direction.
Moving in the right direction. Yeah.
So, but like you said earlier, though, the mortality rate is declining. So, I mean, maybe in time somebody will come up with a cure.
Yeah. Maybe in time. In the meantime, though, their lifestyle does matter. The reason that the rate has come down substantially over the last 30 years is because the smoking of cigarettes has become taboo almost, while it was a normal thing. Back then it was like, oh, what's cancer? He's like, oh, smoke the cigarette is the cool thing to do. Now that it's been linked to a substantial amount of cancer, people have stopped, even though they still sell it on the shelves legally. But people are doing it less. Less percentage of the population smokes cigarettes, and if they do, it's not multiple packs a day. So that's a huge thing. But also, that's lung cancer though. You're also talking about things such as prostate cancer, stomach cancer, and things such as lack of exercise, obesity, or too much drinking. Overdoing anything is what's going to increase that percentage. So it always comes back to just mediocrity and keeping yourself healthy. Having that team of doctors that can at least be able to alert you and say, hey, listen, your levels are this, or how we caught it early. Let's run this procedure that could potentially save your life. So I think if it's one thing, it's really two main things to get out of this, and this is to take care of yourself and go see that doctor.
Yeah. I think the unfortunate part would be for people that don't have access to health care that would allow them to seek out a specialist. Like, when something's off in your body. But I do know like certain health cares require you to have a referral to a specialist. So I think, and maybe what makes it more we were discussing earlier, disproportionate in the black culture, the African American race, is lack of access to health care. Yeah,
the medical costs they're pretty high. You talk about running all of these procedures. If you don't have medical insurance, paying out of pocket, those things will put you in debt real quick. The next thing you know, you're looking at this pile of medical bills.
If they even see you.
Yeah.
Some places require you to pay up front.
Yeah. Even if you do have health insurance, then you got to meet your deductible. Pay out of those out of pocket expenses until you meet your deductible. Then pay a percentage. It depends on what type of health care plan you have. But do enough Americans have access to health insurance to be able to do that? They're about to take away Obamacare, which is the government funded health insurance. So how is that going to affect people's access to health care? And especially in the black community, does one individual feel like, I'm not going to go get this screening because I can't afford it, or because, I think that I'm all right, or
fear.
Or fear. I'm sure that's a huge part
that's
of it.
One too.
You'd rather just not know it, probably. But, so I would imagine that plays a huge part in it. Just that access to the healthcare, or access to affordable healthcare. There's countries out here that provide free healthcare, and granted, there are some things about it in which they may not have as good of other programs. At the end of the day, health is everything. But we can't, as a society, always rely on reactive health procedures when you're supposed to be focusing on preventative and proactive. So. That's why, as a society, we can't always put things on the government or on doctors or on other people. As a society, as ourselves, it's just our responsibility to at least get those checkups. When you're running the test and doing the checkups is when it's inexpensive with the medical costs. Even if you don't have health insurance, we're talking about going to your primary physician, maybe that's a couple $100 to get those regular tests run, and then if any levels come back that are out of the range, then referring you to a specialist, and then from there you may start seeing a team of specialists. But it's good to have you a team of specialists anyway,
Yes.
just to go ahead and monitor your whole body. But that preventative maintenance, just to pay for those tests rather than the reactive procedures, is what's going to keep healthcare costs low. So we as a society just kind of have to accept, really motivate each other to go hit the doctor and kind of listen, see what's going on with us and try to catch it early.
Yeah, I agree.
So that's one of those topics where it's like we need to bring an expert in here, because they need to kind of give us the breakdown on what are the latest techniques and things that are happening. But we'll be back on that in sometime in the future, though.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think so. I think that would be good. So we will be back shortly after this break. So welcome back, everyone. We did not want to close that subject on cancer off without giving you some resources and some tips that we think would help, and being proactive, or even if you're already dealing with cancer, being combative and doing what you can do to help your body be the strongest it can be to fight, and so you can get your health back. So for those of you that may not have health care, we would say to visit or Google Obamacare, and click on the website for Obamacare, and you can enroll in some affordable health care. It'll also pull up affordable health care options. Always do your research. Don't just think that you don't have any options. You do your research, and just Google affordable healthcare and see what options pop up that would fit best for you in your particular situation.
Yeah, don't ever let the cost be the one that deters you from doing what's appropriate for your body.
Right.
And that's a good way to start. Go ahead and hit the Obamacare. That's the government-funded healthcare if you don't have your own healthcare.
And secondly, we were saying is your lifestyle. So we definitely have to be mindful of what we eat. The processed foods, definitely have to cut back on that. The hot dogs, the lunch meat, the French fries, especially French fries, hamburgers. Be mindful of how much red meat that you're consuming. You would like to focus more on lean white meat, chicken breast, turkey, and especially salmon. Fishes that have the fatty omega-3s are definitely good for you. All of the berries, strawberries, blackberries, blueberries, raspberries, are high in antioxidants that will help your body fight off free radicals. So find out whichever berries, like as far as fruit is concerned, find out what's in season. Like just because it's at the grocery store year round, it's not always good. So find out which berries or whatever fruit is in season for that time, and make sure that your palate is just full of color. That's how it should be, including with your vegetables. There should be an array of colors: the purple eggplants, radishes. Definitely your leafy greens, your kale, spinach,
Broccoli.
Yes, you got broccoli, cauliflower. There's so many options. So definitely shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Do your best to stay out of the middle. It does take time. It is time consuming, but you know what? Let's put that time in now to take care of these bodies that we have, so that we will be fortunate enough to have longevity. It's worth the time now versus losing the time later.
Oh yeah, you'll pay for it either way. The question is, do you want to pay for it preventative right now, through discipline and proactive actions, or pay for it later on the surgery table. You know, I have this app called ZocDoc that allows me to find different doctor professionals in my area. You know, you just put in what zip code you're in, the type of doctor you're looking for, get you a team of doctors. You know, skin care. You know, for skin care with skin cancer, you might want to see a dermatologist.
Yes.
You know, and it's different type of doctors that look at different parts of the body that can do the screening that you may need. So get you a team of doctors, as Raina said. The diet, the exercise, continuously staying active.
Yes. Stop scrolling. We sit there, we scroll, and we binge watch on the treadmill. Get your headphones, post your phone up, and before you know it, you've walked 5-6 miles and don't even realize, versus just sitting there and eating. So we can still do the things that we enjoy doing, but let's just modify how we get it done.
Yeah. Hit that belt line, Atlanta. We got the nice special belt line and help with the belt line. I just thought of that.
Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, belt line.
Yeah.
That's probably why I was named that. Yeah, go for a nice jog out there, or hit, you know, or a bike. You know, it's nice out there on the belt line. It's a nice way to get out and be active. Hitting the same gym every day could get a little.
It could be
boring,
redundant.
You know? Yeah,
yes.
so
unless you're a gym rat, it definitely could get old. But that's where the discipline comes in. You know, and that's where we just have to push ourselves and just go that mile. Think about yourself. Think about your family, your loved ones that you want to be here for, the pain that you don't want to have to go through unnecessarily. So you know, so we got to pull that motivation and determination, whatever you have to use to your why. Find your why you want to take care of your health, and that's what you go with.
Yeah, that's huge. All right, thank you, and we'll be back for the next segment. Hey, welcome back to Wake Up Right with Jason and Raina. Let's talk a little bit about civil rights a little bit.
Yes, let's do that. So we are all aware that Atlanta is the home of the modern civil rights movement. And back in the 1960s, a lot as far as the civil rights movement transpired here in Atlanta. There is a place, though, right now in the city that you can go and actually kind of somewhat have a simulated experience at the National Center of Human and Civil Rights. They have a sit-in counter experience.
Yeah.
So they focus on the nonviolent sit-ins of black people going to white-only restaurants, and you kind of get to get a feel for what that would have been like. Which I think that's awesome for this museum to do. It was actually opened in 2014. And Coca-Cola actually donated the land that it's built on.
Yeah. And this museum, you know, I haven't been yet, all right, but I heard it was crazy. And also, there's a little sample. If you go online, I think it's you can just Google the Museum for Civil and Human Rights, and it'll take you right to their website, and you're able to get to a segment that allows you to hear a sample of the sit-ins and how they used to talk to people, you know, who would just come in, have their coffee, minding their own business, but it's a whites-only establishment or a non-colored establishment. And just take a listen to this. Just take a listen, and you let me know your thoughts on this.
This
Wasn't
is where
it?
we would clip in.
That's what.
Okay.
Wasn't that crazy? Now, okay, so let's say if that was you. I mean,
It wouldn't be me.
it would be. You're right. You're sitting in there. You're trying to drink your water or whatever, and they start doing all of that. Like,
I just remember the first time when I played it. I wasn't really. I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
I think I more so was expecting someone to like do an explanation of something, and when the guy starts talking as well, you okay, it's your first time, like, oh, okay,
I think we see so many movies. I mean, how many civil rights, black oppression movies have or shows have come out that that kind of, and I don't want to say portrays, but I mean that is what is happening. But they're showing how the racist white folk were those back in those days, and it's always like the same, nigger, you need to get out of here. What are you doing here? Like, and it's that same feel there, and it's kind of like almost taboo a little bit. It's like you expect it, but you don't expect it. Like, this is how they really were. Wow, I mean, and I'm not gonna say I don't believe it, because a lot of that is still happening nowadays, which is really crazy.
I think the difference is, and like you're right. It is definitely a reiterated theme, but imagine going into the museum, and so I'm sure the display is set up like a counter. You're going into a time warp, and they want you to sit and have your headphones on and your eyes closed. So if you just imagine hearing that in your ear, knowing your actual physical placement, it's going to take you somewhere.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to hear it here on the computer, but to actually do such an interactive, it almost makes me like, I don't know if I want to
actually go and experience it. If it was up to Trump and his colleagues, they would get rid of that museum in its entirety. They would go ahead and whitewash the entire history and say, "Oh, we don't want that. That's not how we are now. So let's not talk about it. Let's not harp on it." But the thing is, if you don't know what happened, then you're going to be doomed to repeat your mistakes in the future. So you got to keep things like this. Like, you got to keep these museums safe and sacred. Make sure that they're not trying to attempt to make it be something that it wasn't, or whitewash.
Yes.
There's another word for that. And when you listen, again, I haven't been, but I can imagine you're sitting there with the headphones on. You have all this going through your ear. I'm not sure how long it is, but it's only I imagine only takes maybe a minute or so before it starts
getting into your
like the emotion starts to come out. You're like, wow, if this was me, makes you want to go, make sure you're still cool with your right
mind right
now.
when you leave.
Yeah.
I do want to say this. Now, this is not in Atlanta, but what that does make me think of is I went to Black Wall Street.
Who killed the Chronic? Who killed the Chronic? Who killed the Chronic? I killed the Chronic. Who am I? Chronic killer. Stronger. I am stronger than Chronic killer. And that's why I killed the Chronic. Who killed the Chronic? You did.
Okay.
Have you been there?
No.
In Tulsa?
No, I haven't.
That was amazing.
Okay.
But there is a section of that museum exhibit that when you go in, you sit down, it's dark, and you actually see someone's house, and then you see the Klan ride up to the house, and it's the surround sound, and it's all of the things.
Okay.
And you hear the glass break, and you hear the flames consume the house, and you're sitting right there, so you feel it. That's what that was a very powerful experience, especially if you know the history of Black Wall Street. But then what was nice though, despite how heavy that was, so I wonder how they end this, because this feels like it would definitely bring you down. So how do you lift people back up after, especially if you're taking children, because this is I mean, I have to be careful what age. They, of course, explain it to your children, but for them to experience that, you definitely have to have the maturity level of your child, but there definitely have to be some level of maturity there. But at the end of the exhibit, it was just a whole room of things that they were able to salvage, like an actual newspaper and a barber chair and a soda machine. And these are all actual artifacts from this black town where they had their own doctors. They were everything. The doctor, the lawyer, the pharmacist. They were everything. And then they, it's unfortunate what happened, but
yeah. I have been to the D.C. African American Museum. They have that in Washington, D.C. And
yes,
it's multiple floors, and it gives that same feel. They go through the transatlantic slave movement. Then it goes through the Jim Crow civil rights, and then it even goes up all the way up until recently with, you say a good way to end it. A good way to end it is, was having a black African American president,
when I
right?
went. Yep, that was the end of it.
Obama stepping up, and hey, we go from slavery to now a black president. We made it, type way. But now we're post-Obama, and we're seeing that we have to fight for things that we once took for granted now. So it's interesting, and I just hope that the new administration and whoever comes afterwards doesn't go doing things like shutting down those museums and saying, "Oh, we don't need those anymore." And as I'm saying it right now, people may be thinking, "Oh, Jason, you're just thinking a little crazy right now." But for what's been going on recently, it's certainly possible. So I'm just saying, preserve history. Make sure if they're talking about we don't need this museum anymore. Fight to not have that whitewash out of our society.
Yeah, we do, but with you saying that, though, it kind of goes back to something else that you mentioned where you said, like, the civil rights movement were, strong black men and women fighting for equality. And our generation
yeah, our black community, we
fight for the wrong things.
We fight with each other. We fight for the wrong things. I don't want to say hope is completely lost, but we do as a black community need to do better with coming together, putting the most important things first, discovering the truth, educating each other, having open dialogue, and ultimately ridding ourselves from ignorance.
Yes.
And that's tough. That's a responsibility of everyone in the black community of all ages, man, male, female. We all need to come together and like you said, they were strong and they were fighting for they were fighting for freedom at that point.
Yes.
Us right now, we kind of have the taste of freedom, and we're like, we already have it. What else do we have to fight for? But it's fragile. Democracy is fragile, so it's certainly possible to go back into the dark ages and not even know it, and then not have not be hardened enough to fight for it because you're kind of you're spoiled by how society has already raised you. So it's certainly an interesting topic.
Well, let's see. You gonna go
with the
to the museum?
I'm gonna go. I haven't been. It's crazy. Yes, I grew up in Atlanta, but this was open in 2014.
Yeah.
I haven't been. I was in Orlando for 10 years. Moved back to Atlanta in 2017, and just haven't gone. But I definitely need to add that to the list, though. Try to get my blackness on.
We'll see which one of us gets there first. Can we get talk about it from actually experience?
Actual experience instead of theory.
I kind of feel like my little a minute and a half clip online was enough for me.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be right back.
Hey, thank you for joining us for Wake Up Right Morning Show with Jason and Raina. Until next time, guys, stay safe.